Hi there, this is Rick Brady and we are back for another Sit and Go Secrets video. In this video, what I'm going to do is take you through a tournament that I played a single table sit and go at Full Tilt here a while back. And I think it'll be interesting to see some of the things that have taken place. Before we jump into the action, let me just take you a little bit through what we've got here in terms of the setup. We're using the pop-up universal replayer, and that we're replaying the hand history. And I have gone through and renamed all the players through that in this hand history file. My name is actually Hero over here, of course, with the pocket threes here in the first hand. And we've got Ocean's Ace King, River Star, Phil Pill, Hey You, AC Doocy, Johnny G, Shift King, and the Nerd Herd here with us today. Now a word from our sponsor. This is what you'll find at www.pokertester.com. PokerTester is a free poker skills test site that I created some years back. It was the original poker skills test on the internet. It's a free test that's actually been up-leveled and improved quite a bit here more recently. I worked with World Series of Poker Pro and World Series of Poker Bracelet winner Brett Youngblood. And we up-leveled this test, and now it's absolutely the most advanced pro-level poker skills test available on the internet. And it's obviously still the original. But I would urge you, if you have a few minutes, go over and check this test out. It's free to register, and I think you'll be amazed at what you'll discover just very quickly. Let me show you here on the Poker Skills Ladder. It's going to test you in your skill level in like 8 different skills area, everything you see here, starting hands all the way down through advanced play and tournament play. And so if you want to find out for sure where the gaps are in your game and the areas that you can stand to improve upon, let me show you just exactly how this thing works. After you log in, or after you register rather, I'm not going to take your time right now to do that, but you log in, you click here to take the test, but I want to go show you my test results, or the test results of this test run that was taken a while back. You can see here, this is the report you get at the very end, and this was when I was testing the latest changes. I had a score of 85.2, so there's obviously still improvement possible, although it's a pretty good score, still a reasonably good score. But there were some areas that I needed to, according to the test, improve upon, and then you'll see that it gives you some tips here. Fold weak starting hands in early positions, for example, based upon the situations that the test brought up. You can see there's some areas that even I still need to, according to the test, take a closer look at. And so anyway, that's what I would recommend that you do. And like I said, this has been reviewed and approved, got its stamp of approval from World Series of Poker Pro. And I just urge you to take advantage of this free service and come over to www.pokertester.com and find out what it's all about. I think you'll be glad you did. Thank you. So what I want to do is get started. I'm going to skip past hands, as you can see down here at the bottom, when there are hands that aren't particularly worthy of playing, like 10-9, King-3, especially early on in the tournament. We're going to just skip right past those very quickly. In case you're not familiar with the Universal Replayer, it's free. It's a really nice little device for walking through these hands like we're going to do here, and I highly recommend it for you to go back and take a look at your game and your action afterwards. Poker Tracker is another tool that we use. We have a whole lot of tools that we use at the Royal Flush Club, but don't have time to go into all of them today. But suffice to say that we really like the Universal Replayer. All right, so let's get started. We start off here with pocket threes in the hijack position, first hand in the game. Now, when I get pocket threes or low to medium pocket pair, especially this early, I'm going to just raise it slightly or possibly even limp in. Now let's look here. In order to try to catch a set, so that we're looking for set value with these small pocket pairs, especially early in the tournament. Otherwise, we need to get away from them because they'll just get you in trouble. Now, we did hit the set here. There is a flush draw showing. So 195 in the pot, we've got a raise ahead of us. And I smooth called the raise. Now we've got trouble showing here potentially with 2 flush draws. And it's time to move forward. So let's see what happens. Now the flush does show. I represent strength into the flush. Fortunately, he did not have the flush, but I had to make that feeler bet to find out where I stood with the hand. So that's the way that I like to play these small pocket pairs, especially early on when we're trying to be conservative and really not play and get engaged in too many hands. Now I'm just going to skip ahead here unless I see something particularly interesting going on here. I'm just going to move forward and skip past some of these sort of no-op hands like Queen 4 and King 3, etc. Just fold. I think early on the right strategy is to be folding these trash hands. Don't get involved. Let's stop here for a minute and talk. So what's the goal of a sit and go? The goal of the sit and go is to come in first place and to be the last one standing at the end of the tournament. It's not to jump out to the fastest possible lead like you're, running a race and you're waiting for the flag to go down and everybody to race as fast as you can and you go all in and go crazy. No, it's the opposite. Early on, our goal is to be patient, to observe the other players, learn their styles. I actually like to take notes on full tilt. I'll go in and color code the different players. So if I notice, for example, that someone's limping in a lot, I'll go in and right-click in full tilt on that player icon. Now, we can't do that here because we're in the replayer, but I'll right-click, and I'll go in. If I see them limping, I'll color code them yellow, which means they're a cautionary player in that they're limping a lot, and I'll make notes about this person limps a lot with certain hands, or they overplay medium pairs, or they overplay whatever, right? And so I think taking notes is a good thing. I didn't used to spend the time to take notes, and you hear people talking about, oh yeah, you need to take notes. You know what? You need to take notes. I now agree with that. And when you're bored and you're waiting for action, you should be watching the other players and taking notes as you go. Okay, and I especially like full tilt better than Poker Stars for that because the note-taking facilities are much better. Now, let's look here. So we've got blinds at 20-40. We have a 3 times the big blind early position raise here with Shift King, and we've got pocket aces. Couldn't start out much better than that from my perspective. Now, I just smooth call him. Now, one could argue that it was time to re-raise here, but I didn't want to scare him away, and I wanted to get some value, so I masked the strength of my hand here pre-flop by simply smooth calling the raise that was already put in ahead of me. And see what that did is it netted me another caller behind because he's getting good pot odds now to call. And of course the blinds get out of the way. Now, as we look at this, the flop really couldn't be hardly any better unless it was rainbow with the set of aces. Okay, so now the question is what strategy is going to get us the most value for these aces versus these 2 players? Now, we don't know if either of those players have an ace. It's not likely because there's only one more ace that's out there. So they're going to be worried about the ace. Now, we see a bet here. Let me back this up. All right. Ocean's Ace King comes out with 150 into 420. Okay, that's way less than a half pot size bet, which would have been about 210, right? So this is a really weak kind of feeler bet. He's trying to feel the board out to see what's in there. So I smooth call him. Let's back it up again. Shift King gets out of the way. He folds. I smooth call, and we go to the turn. The turn's pretty much a blank. It's doubtful that there's a medium straight draw going on here. So this is, again, a very good card for us. And now, notice I put out a small bet acting weak. I'm deliberately acting weak because he hasn't shown enough strength yet. I'm trying to get him to come up over the top of me here, which all he does is smooth calling. Now, that tells me right there
that he's probably got a 9, maybe a 6. He's got a smaller, weak situation. He might even have a small to medium pair that's not on the board. Then the jack comes, and we're safe from the flush now. So now I go ahead and make a value bet, a little bit less than half pot, just because I've detected weakness and I don't want to run him off. And I figure that's probably as many chips as I can pry out of him at this point. And sure enough, he folds. So he probably had that medium pair, and when the jack and the ace were both there, it was just too much for him, and he had to get out of the way. So that's one way to play a set, in a sort of a trapping model to play it. If I had just jumped out there and raised pre-flop, I wouldn't have gotten those extra chips. Everybody would have folded and gone home. So you got to kind of get a sense for the strength of your opponent's hands as you play through your own hand in order to extract the most chips. Now you see here we got a good, this guy Shift King likes to raise pre-flop 3 times the big blind, and that's a good thing, okay? So we keep an eye on that. That's a sign of a pretty decent player potentially. Now he's in the blind, and I'm just going to speed this replayer up a little bit here until we get to something interesting to slow down and talk about. But now, I like to look at what people are holding and what they're playing. In this case, they were in the blind, so it didn't too much matter. But I like to get a sense for what kinds of hands players are playing from what positions. And again, I'll take notes on them. And that helps me when it comes time for me to make a decision. I can go back and review my notes. And if you're good at taking mental notes, that's great. But you'll be surprised that when you write it down and you force yourself to put it in writing, it actually does help you. So now we've got a mini raise, which is a bad move, especially early position, this Ocean's Ace King. So you should make a note here. I would be making a note on Ocean's Ace King. Made a mini raise from early position. It's a very weak play. It gives everybody pot odds to call you. And then he gets a re-raise, 4 times the big blind, which is a good raise or a good bet by Phil Pill over here. So we see the flop. Now, Phil Pill makes let's back it up. Phil Pill makes again, less than half a pot size feeler bet into this sort of drawy looking board. And I think he's just going to get a call. So he gets smooth call. We see the turn. Now, wow. Now we've got a real situation with 2 flush draws and a straight draw that's just staring us in the face. And anybody with Ace King is golden unless the flush card falls. So once again, Phil Pill bets out. Now you look here, I want to show you something here that the replayer is showing us that a good poker odds calculator will also be showing you. Your pot odds, Ocean's Ace King is now getting 3.2 to 1 on his money. Okay, you look at that. 320 into 700. Well, he's got to call 320 out of 1,000 or so. He's getting 3.2 to 1. There's almost no hand in poker that you can fold here unless you're just convinced he's got the straight. Okay, so he does call it, and then the jack comes. And then we finally, Oceans acts first and bets out, but this is a really small bet into this pretty major pot, and he gets a fairly quick re-raise by Phil Pill, who's been indicating strength all the way, and then he calls. Now look at this. Phil Pill has been sitting here looking at the straight, okay, all along. And he didn't really bet very big, and Ocean's Ace King, who had a 2 pair until the river, stuck with him. Okay, so interesting, isn't it? 9, 10, Jack, Queen, and as soon as we hit the turn, Phil Pill had a straight. Okay, and then on the river, Oceans made his boat. So when you look at this, both of these players had pretty strong hands post flop, and they played them reasonably well, but a little bit cautiously, and nobody was able to run the other one or tried to run the other one out of the pot. But it ended up being a very large pot, and put some pretty good damage over here to Phil, and now Oceans is in a good spot here moving forward. So let's keep going. All right, so now both of those hands were reasonably well played. I would probably have raised bigger if I had been Phil Pill or Oceans. Either one would have raised bigger than they did, but that's me. All right, let's keep rolling. You can see here, I'm just going to kind of move ahead. Jack 9, 5-3, Queen 10 on the button. It's so early in the tournament. You see here, Phil is feeling angry, and the Shift King says he's feeling very happy. That's good. But it's very early. The blinds are still relatively low. I'm in position. They're just hardly worth stealing. And then we've got Phil Pill who shoves in, which this makes our action a whole lot easier. When you have that, you have shove, and then you have two other shoves by Shift King and Nerd Herd. I mean, it's time to get the heck out of Dodge with Queen 10, folks, and just let this thing, ride out. And we've got sevens, a pretty classical race with the sevens versus Ace King and Ace Queen here. So we're going to be down to just a few players very quickly. All right. Now this is helping us because we've already lost 2 players. So now let's stop for a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, we're down to 7 players. We're not really ready to open up our game too much from the full table level, but we can open it up a little bit, but not too much until we get down to like 6-handed. Okay, so I still like to play a little bit tight. The blinds are still relatively low. No need to get crazy and take any risks. It's going to get us knocked out of the tournament or get someone to draw out on us, which happens. I mean, that happens all the time. So just be careful early in the sit and goes. Don't get yourself knocked out too quickly, like Mr. Phil Pill over there did. All right, let's keep rolling here. I'm going to keep skipping past these hands. Okay, all right, so now we pick up these silly 3s again. All right, so I'm going to stop. We're in the small blind. We've got pocket 3s. We've got a pretty significant raise in front of us here, a little over 3 times the big blind raise. Then we've got a caller to that raise. Now, in looking back at this after the fact, this was probably a situation to fold. The only reason I called this, let me back it up. The reason I remember calling this is, look here, I'm getting 2.9, almost 3 to 1 because of the second caller. Let's back it up again. If Nerd Herd had not called Shift King's raise, I would have only been getting 1.5 to 1 on my money. But as soon as Nerd Herd called, I was now getting 3 to 1 on my money, and if I hit a set, the set value, I needed 8 to 1 or better on my set, assuming that I could stack one of these guys. Well, let's look here and see. We've got 400 in the pot. I need to get, if I could get Nerd Herd all in, it might make sense. So, it wasn't that much more to call, so I went ahead and called the bet. Now, we did not pick up the set, obviously. Okay, so now at this point, everything's an overcard. It's time to get away from this. I'm checking it. It gets checked to me. Everybody checks it around. Now there's yet another overcard, a big card. Nobody seems to have anything. Now Nerd Herd bets out. I'm getting 6.4 to 1 on my money, but I know I'm probably behind. He's probably at least got a jack. He might even have a small pair. So I'm definitely folding, getting out of the way, as did the Shift King. Okay, so see how that works? You got to look at the pot odds, and you need to learn to just estimate these pot odds in your head, and then understand how those stack up versus your hand odds of making or improving your hands, your outs. Okay? All right. Now, we've got an early raise over here to our Ace-5 in position on the button, and all-in shove by Shift King. Well, that's a definite fold and getting the heck out of the way here. Shift King made a good raise, and that's fine. I'm just going to zip ahead. Early position Ace-4 is a fold. 8-5 offsuit's a fold if it's raised to us, and it is. We have an early position raise, which usually indicates a big hand. Let's see, and we don't get to see it. Now we come up on ace-9 suited here in the small blind, and it comes around to us. We've got a limper. Acey-deucey's limping. That's a note. Make a note. Acey-deucey's limping from middle position. And we got Nerd Herd limping and floating in on us here now in position. This is one I like to raise. Okay, I don't have necessarily a great strong hand, but they've indicated weakness. By limping, they've telegraphed that they don't have a good strong hand. I'm now telegraphing that I think I do have a good strong hand and a better hand than they do. And the idea now is to get these guys to fold. I get one caller. Okay, Shift King calls me. And it's a very scary looking board with that club flush draw. And I happen to hit top pair. And so I make a bet. Notice my bet is now 480 into 660. Okay, so Shift King's now getting about 2.4 to 1. I might have made that bet a little bit bigger, but about 2/3 the pot I still think is about the right size bet. And he goes ahead and folds and gets out of the way because there's very few hands he could really have that he could, unless he had flopped the club flush, then there's just no way he can call me in that situation. Okay, so it's kind of in my opinion, that was sort of a semi-bluff. I had top pair, but I definitely wasn't feeling strong about the top pair, but I had to make a strong continuation bet and represent the board, which is what I did. And yeah, I still had some outs with aces and nines had I been called. All right. Then we're fortunate, very next hand we pick up Big Slick suited in position on the button. So that's good. Let's see if we have some action. We got another limper. Shift King's limping. All right. Now I'm going to raise it in position. And notice what I did. I raised it to about 300. Okay, now Ocean's Ace King's only getting 1.7 to 1 on his money. You know, he has to fold. Pretty much everybody should be folding unless they've got a very strong hand, and they did. All right, so that's good. Now you're going to see down here, see these little white dots right here? These represent all the dead space where I didn't play a hand. There's, I don't know, at least 10 hands. So I'm just going to zip through them here where I did not play these. I just skipped these starting hands because they were just, you know, kind of card dead, not worth playing, staying out of the way. Got a decent sized stack at this point versus the blinds. No reason to get involved. So finally pick up a pair of pocket sevens. Okay. I'm going to zip ahead here, scroll this forward. We're down here in this little green bar right here where you see the pocket sevens. All right, let's roll forward. All right, so it comes to us. Now I make a 3 times the big blind raise, and I like to raise pretty much the same amount, 3 times the big blind. It's pretty much a standard raise. And I will raise pocket sevens the same way I will raise pocket aces or kings or queens. So you can't really tell the difference whether I've got ace king, ace queen, or pocket sevens, pocket sixes on up pre-flop. And I think that's a good model is don't vary your bet amount pre-flop too much. If you're going to vary it based on position, not based on your hand strength. You do not want to telegraph your hand strength with your bets pre-flop. Okay, and that just managed to take the let's back that up. Okay, so I bet 3 times the big blind, took the blinds down. Okay, now you could make that same move that I just made without pocket sevens and steal the blinds. Okay, and I think you'll see some situations where I do that. It's just we're at a point here where there's no need to take crazy risks. The blinds are relatively moderate at this point. I like to really start stealing the blinds once the antes kick in. Once the antes kick in, there's typically the blinds are really worth going after. Prior to the antes kicking in, they're questionable typically as well. All right, so we just keep rolling. Let's back up. What do we have here? Queen 5. All right, we're in the big blind. We've got an in position raise from Acey-deucey. He's only got 560 behind. So he made a bet of about 1/3 of his stack. I have to believe I'm going to end up all in with him to the tune of about 800 chips. I'm not going to do that with Queen 5. No way. Okay, so I'm going to have to get away from this hand. Good raise by Acey Deucey there in late position. All right, let's keep rolling. Now I'm in position with King 9 suited. Not a really spectacular starting hand, but let's see what happens. It's folded all the way around to us. So now I raise 300. Okay, 3 times the big blind, and I steal the blinds. Okay, so that's just a simple example of stealing the blinds. I'm sure you've all done it. If you haven't, you need to be doing more of it. You're probably card dead and wondering why you're getting knocked out of these tournaments because you're blinding out. You got to steal the blinds. You just have to pick the right times to do it. The reason I stole the blinds just then was because everybody folded around to me, and I only had 2 players to deal with. All right. Now let's see what we got. We got. Yeah, let's keep rolling here. We're not even in these hands. Let's keep moving. Now we get Ace King suited. We're really in a bad situation now because we're first to act. Notice I raised the exact same amount, 3 times the big blind. I could have pocket aces, I could have pocket sevens, or I, of course, could have Ace King. Everybody folds because an early position raised like that by a solid or a tight aggressive player or a good solid player is an indication of a pretty strong hand, typically, unless they're stealing. All right. Keep rolling. Jack 10. What happened here? Let's roll this thing forward. Comes around. All I did was check and limped in to see the flop. He should never have let me do that. He should have come back over the top of me if he's got any kind of hand at all. So he checks it to me. I still really didn't connect with the flop, and I'm just not feeling like taking any risks with that particular flop there. Finally, look what happened here. I pick up a straight, and I overbet the pot. I put 500 into a 200 pot. Now, he's smart enough to say, uh-oh, better get out of the way there of that. All right. Let's keep rolling. Now I pick up pocket 10s. Pocket 10s can be a little bit tough to play, but I raise them, and I raise them a little extra amount. Actually, no, it's 3 times the big blind. Take that back. Yeah, just 3 times the big blind, same as always, standard pre-flop raise, and take the pot down. I'm very happy to do that because there's too many post-flop situations where these pocket 10s would get crushed. I don't want to really find myself in. Now, we're in sort of a middle position, given the number of players. We're down to 6 players. We're in like middle position with Queen King offsuit, and there's a raise in front of us. The King Queen's got to go. We're not at a point with our stack where we need to take any risks really. Okay, so let's just let this thing slide by. We're going to drop a few of these hands. Then we pick up King Queen in the cutoff. 6-handed. That's a pretty strong hand, 6-handed. And again, I'm going to raise it 3 times the big blind. We got some good, solid players here, and they're respecting my raise, and they fold, so we take it down. So you see how just cruising along here, not getting too crazy. Then we got in the big blind, Queen 4. Got a limper. Now we see a flop. Did not connect with the flop, so I check it and I get bet into with a min bet. And I should have probably just dropped out right then and there, but I decided to stay in. Not really sure why, looking back on it. Now I bet out first, and I ended up against pocket aces. So this was like, I think, let's go back and look at this again. Let's get back to this point. In the big blind, let's come back around. We have a limper. Okay, so he's showing, in my opinion, he's showing weakness by limping in here instead of raising on the button. And I didn't know at that point he was trapping me, right? We missed the flop completely. Okay? No reason to be in this hand at this point if there's any. Then he makes a min bet, another weak bet at the pot. Okay? So I should have gotten out right then, but I didn't, and that was a mistake. You know, but, hey, I'm not perfect. I do occasionally make mistakes, so that was one of them. Let's keep rolling. We're still okay. We're around 2100. We're doing all right, even though we made that one decision error there, and bought into his weak play. Okay, so now it's a good time to make a note how he tried to trap me, and he did. He slow played his aces, and fortunately he did not get us too deep in. If we'd had a stronger hand or made some kind of a top pair with a queen with a bad kicker, we could have been in real trouble there. So it could have been a lot worse. All right, so let's roll forward. I'm not going to sit here and spend too much time on all these dead hands. You can just see I'm just tossing these things away, tossing all these lousy starting hands and just not getting involved. And we finally get up to the point where we get ace-jack in the cutoff. All right, blinds are up to 100, 200. It's folded around to us. Standard raise, 3 times the big blind. Take the blinds down. Okay. Skip a few hands. Then we wake up in position with Queen 10 suited. Not a super strong hand. It's probably a decent hand in blackjack, but not in poker. But I decide to float into this pot by limping in position. When you limp in position and everybody folds it around to you, it's called floating in. And what you're hoping to do is you're hoping to see a flop. Now, this flop is actually good for us. Look at this. We have an actual flush draw, and there's a pair of sevens showing. So this is a perfect flop to float into. You float in by limping in position on the button when everybody else folds against the blinds. Then you bet out representing, actually, so it's checked around. I actually just let it be checked to me this time. Now, what I could have done is actually represented the sevens. I didn't do it. That would have been actually a pretty good play. And it plays on out. We don't hit the flush. So, hey, you know what? It happens. If we'd hit the flush, we would have gotten paid off big. But in any event, I think we ended up with high card there over the sevens. I just want to back this up one more time. So, looking back over this, I floated in here. As soon as this flop came down here and he checked it to me, okay, I should have at that point raised probably a bet of around 300, 350 at the most. A feeler bet sort of into this pot, acting like I really liked this pot. It would have been a semi-bluff in that I did actually have some outs with the flush draw, some decent outs, and some overcards in addition. So I had plenty of outs, and I should have made that bet. But ended up winning the pot anyway. So let's keep rolling. Very next hand, pick up ace-king in position. So I make a min raise, which is a little uncharacteristic of me. I probably should have raised it up to 600, but I didn't want to over-represent the strength. I do get a caller because of the min raise, and I actually wanted some action, so I got it. Now, we missed the flop, okay, and we're first to act, so I actually bet into this pot as if I liked it, because I do have it's kind of a semi-bluff, and then I've got 2 overcards. If he's got high pair like a jack or whatever, I'm probably toast, but if he doesn't, with ace-king, it's probably a coin flip at that point. Okay, and he didn't really represent a lot of strength, neither did I yet. So he goes ahead and folds because he didn't connect with the flop either. See, the chances were about 2 out of 3 that he would not connect with the flop. And you're only going to connect with the flop about 1 out of 3 times, about 30% of the time. So by being first to act, having a semi-bluff, I was able to take that pot down. Okay, by making the continuation bet. Now, let me just back this up one more time. Let's walk through this again. Min bet, probably should have been a bigger bet pre-flop. Get a caller let's back up. Why did he call? Well, he was getting 1.8 to 1 on his money. Not a bad, not bad. Now, at this point, look at this. River Star's getting 3.7 to 1, as is AC Deucey, okay, to call this. They just must not have had anything that they could call with under those circumstances. I make the continuation bet representing strength. So this is starting to look like I connected with this flop. It didn't look like I had too much pre-flop because I min-raised pre-flop. Now post-flop, I bet out, making a pretty significant value bet, like I wanted to just keep him in the pot with me. And he says, nope, I think I'm going to get the heck out of there. Good decision on his part, most likely. All right. Now we pick up Queen 5 in the big blind. We get a limper in front of us. Everybody folds around to us. We miss the flop completely. We check it. It's checked to us. Now there's an ace overcard showing. I represent the ace overcard. Okay, like I had limped in with a weak ace or something here. Actually, I was in the blind. Like I had the weak ace in the blind. Now I got called. That's not a good sign. Okay. Fortunately for us, let's see here. What happened here? We have the 5. We just hit the. We almost hit the straight. We missed the straight. We completely missed our hand. So at this point, I check it. He bets out a little less than half the pot, giving me plenty of pot odds, but I had nothing to call with. So I want to back up here and take another look at this. Let's look at this hand again. Big blind, get a limper in front of us, showing weakness. We see the flop. I doubt seriously that flop helped either one of us, so I check, he checks, it didn't. The ace comes out, and I bet to try and represent strength on this flop. He just smooth calls me. So what do you suppose he would have to smooth call me like that? Then he bets out 500. Well, he must have had the ace. The only thing I can figure is he actually had the ace and he was slow playing me. Or he had a 2 in his hand and he hit the set. Could be the other thing. But whatever the case, it was time for me to move on there. And all right, so we're still hovering around 2,300. We're down to 5 players. Now you'll see that just scroll this thing along in the bottom here. You see, I'm gonna skip a whole bunch of hands here. I'm just gonna zip forward through these. Let's back up. What was that? Queen Jack, big blind. Let's take a look at this hand. What happened here? Got a raise, early position raise. It's just time to get out of the way, but I didn't, unfortunately. So this is a mistake. Okay, I think this is a mistake. I've got an early position raise. I'm in the blind. I smooth call him, and I miss the flop. I check it. He shoves all in. There's nothing I can do but fold. So I just wasted a bunch of chips there for no apparent reason. All right? Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. Let's keep rolling. Oh, let's back up. What did I do here? I think I just took the blinds down. Oh, I shoved all in with Jack 6 offsuit. Let's back up. Why did I do that? We're down to 1395 here. Okay, we're getting blinded out. If you just look here over time, the blinds are starting to take their toll. Okay, the blinds have gone up, and we're getting hammered by the blinds now. Okay, so it comes up to Jack. I got Jack 6. I'm under the gun, 5-handed. I have no hand to open with, and I shove in. That's curious, isn't it? Why would I do such a thing? Well, it's because I needed to take some blinds down in order to keep from getting blinded out. Let's take a look here. Let's just run the calculator real quick. ALC. Bring this over here into the window. All right, so what do we got going on here? We've got 120/40. Okay, so we got 360, right, divided by 1395. So that's going to increase my stack by about 25%. Another way to do that is to say 1395 divided by 360. My M was only about 3.8, okay? So I'm in push-fold mode, all right? So I decided to shove. I was first to act. And, I didn't have a great shoving hand, but sometimes you just have to go for it and you have to get healthy again. Okay, so that's what I did. All right, so you see how low I'm starting to get here? Now I'm in the big blind with ace-7. It's going to flip around to me. Nerd Herd raises me. He's got a bigger stack. he could have ace anything. He could have anything that beats me, you know, and I could end up in a drawing situation. Didn't really think that was the time to do it. So, because he represented strength, so I had to let it go. Now we're in the small blind, okay? We're just going to have to keep folding. I'm just going to keep rolling ahead here until I actually play a hand. So then I wake up with big slick offsuit in the big blind. And you can notice I'm down to 1,095. The blinds are up to 450. My M is like 2, a little over 2 at this point. Moving forward, I've got to do something. He shoves. I have to call here, right? Fortunately, I've got him way dominated. There's almost nothing. All he can do is pick up a 5 is about the only thing he can do to beat me at this point. And he's not going to do that, and it doubles me up, which was sorely needed at that point. Let's move forward again. Pick up king, queen, offsuit in the small blind. Let's fold it around. I raise 900 3 times the big blind in order to steal the big blind because I need to take some chips down. So, you know, that's another way. Just, you know, take a shot at the big blind from the small blind, which is not something that I do very often. So when I do it, it usually gets some respect. All right, I'm going to skip through a whole bunch of other hands. By the way, let me just back up. Some people under this situation might play suited connectors. I've got to where I don't play suited connectors under the gun or in this kind of situations. They're a drawing hand, and it's not a good thing to be drawing right now when you're relatively low on chips. I mean, my M is about 5, a little more than 5, so I need to be careful at this stage with my chips and conserving chips. You got a raise in front of us. We're just going to have to fold. So I'm going to skip ahead here. All right, well, now we coming towards the end. Actually, it's not the end, probably 2/3 of the way through the tournament. All right, under the gun. Now I decide to shove again. I've got to pick up some blinds in order to stay healthy, and I've just got to hope that you know, that I'm able to pick those blinds up. So I shove. First to act, so I shove and I take the blinds down. Now you notice I pick up now a decent hand in the big blind, the very next hand. Okay, it comes around. I get a limper in position, acey-deucey, and I shove back over the top of him. And because he limped and showed weakness, I was able to shove and show strength and just take that pot down. Now I get a really decent hand in the small blind. Now I've been in the last 2 hands. Unfortunately for Nerd Herd, he shoves right into my pocket queens. Everybody gets out of the way, and he's pretty much toast at this point. He didn't pick up his king, and that was all she wrote for the Nerd Herd. Now we're down 4-handed. So now we're on the bubble in this particular single table sit and go. All right, so I'm going to skip ahead here, throwing away some hands. Look at this. Let's back up. In the big blind, pocket 3s. Goes around. Acey-deucey raises from the small blind. The 3s have to go. I'm not going to shove back where almost any pair that he makes or has me dominated. There's just no way to do that. I'm not going to throw my tournament away on the bubble with pocket 3s. Okay. Let's move forward. King 10. In position. Unfortunately, I have a raise again with acey-deucey. So King 10's a pretty good hand 4-handed, but the problem is if he has ace-king, I mean, this kind of raise could be ace-king, ace-queen, you know, king-queen, king-jack, just about anything, and you know, I'm behind. So again, don't want to get involved. I don't have any chips in the middle at this point in the button. Just let it go. All right. Time to get on to another hand. Now I pick up a suited connector 5-6 in position, or I'm sorry, in the big blind rather, and he limps on me. Acey-deucey limps and just completes his small blind. Well, I could have actually raised back over the top of him at that point and probably just taken this pot down, but I went ahead and opted to see a flop, and it was a low flop, which actually gave me a straight. He makes a mistake of making a pot-sized bet into me, and I just smooth call him, okay, at this point. Now the board pairs, And he tries to make another stab at this pot, which is what I was hoping he would do when I smooth called him. And I re-raise him all in at this point. Well, he's pretty much pot committed, so he calls me. He's got top pair, but he's pretty much toast at this point. And so this was a big turning point, you know, where I tossed away some things earlier to get to this particular hand. Where, and now I want to back that up again. If I had raised here when he limped in, he probably would have folded. Okay, so the fact that I flopped this fantastic flop, he was first to act. I was in position. He bet into me. I smooth called him, and he didn't slow down, which was a big mistake. When somebody smooth calls you like you just saw me do, you got to ask, well, wait a minute, why did they just call my pot-sized bet? They should have dropped out if they didn't have something. He had top pair, and I could have had, you know, a pair of fours and hit a set. I could have had two pair, you know, I could have had just about anything. And as it turned out, I had the straight, but he didn't read my response very well, and he made a mistake. And that's what you want people to do, is make mistakes in their decision making. I'm going to zip through all this white space here where I'm just folding hands. We're in a chip leader position. Still not going to take too many crazy risks at this point. Notice I'm in the chip leading position. Now I pick up pocket eights. I'm going to raise it up and just take the blinds down. Just going to play very conservatively. Now look at that. I'm going to back this up. I pick up ace 10. I'm in the big blind. It's three-handed. I'm the chip leader. Let me back this up all the way here. All right. Button folds. Everybody just folds. So I didn't really get any action. Oh well, it happens. Let's move forward. Just folding a whole bunch of crappy hands. Don't want to get involved. Don't want to. Let's back up. So I had ace 9 in the big blind. I'm getting blinded down, but I'm now about even with River Star over here. Okay, I just don't get any action. That's great. Okay, keep rolling. Jack 6. Now I pick up king 7 in position here. Now, let's back this up again. What happened here? I'm in position, and I raise 3 times the big blind with king 7, which is a pretty decent starting hand, three-handed. Oceans shoves into me, okay? And at this point, I decide to call him, and I'm actually behind. So this was a bad call, really, on my part. Probably should have folded and just gotten out of the way. But as it turns out, you know, I pick up the 7 and manage to stay alive in this tournament. It doubles me back up and makes me the monster chip leader moving forward. So it was kind of a, you know, a bad call, really. But, you know, I was probably only a 40-60 dog there. I was not in terrible shape. He definitely didn't have me dominated. I had 2 live cards that came through, as you saw. All right, so now I'm getting shoved into here. We're getting down to the end game. Let's look at this. Only 2 of us left. We're now heads up against River Star. He shoves. I fold. Okay, when somebody shoves against you heads up, you have to assume they've got a pretty decent starting hand, and you got to decide when you want to make those calls. And you hope they shove into you when you got a hand like this. So let me just turn the replayer on and let it roll here. So now I'm going to actually call him, and we end up splitting this pot. Let me slow this thing down just a skosh here. A little too fast. Slide back. All right. So he shoves again. I'm going to fold it, let him have it. Now I pick up pocket jacks. Okay, I raise 3 times the big blind. He folds, of course. Let's keep rolling. Now I'm raising with king 4. He folds. I'm just going to keep the pressure on. Ace 5 and he folds. Ace Jack raised and he folds. So I'm just raising into him every chance I get and just taking down the blinds. Right, so I'm going to slow down because we're almost to the end here. I'm still got him dominated. He's just you know, been letting me push him around. He's been in a tough position, being short stacked. So now he shoves. I've got queen 3. I can't really call him there. I don't want to double him up at this point. Now I pick up Queen 8 suited. Not a fantastic position, but I go ahead and raise it. He shoves all in. I decide, you know what, that's worth a shot, and I've actually, it's about probably a 50-50 shot. Now I'm going to show you something else here. How do you know what the odds are of this particular hand? Okay, let me show you how I would figure this out. I'm going to open up a browser. Let's go down over here. Ignore all the news. Here, let's go just to regular Google. And what I'm going to do is type in here where you can see it. We're going to go to www.propokertools.com. I don't know if you use the simulator, but I like it a lot. It's a cool little tool. So let's just look at what we've got here. So we've got Queen of Spades and 8 of Spades versus a 10 of diamonds and a 9 of diamonds, right? I'm just going to hit simulate. Over here you can see the syntax summary of this thing. Let me just pull this over. See how this is how you enter the syntax here in the Pro Poker Tools simulator. And you click enter, and this is a free service that's run by donations. I've donated. Now, you can see that in this situation, it's almost a coin flip, but the Queen 8 is slightly ahead of the 10-9, okay? So, anyway, just wanted you to be aware. This is if you're ever wondering kind of, hey, how do these hands stack up? There's lots of poker odd calculators. This is just one of my favorites in that it does a pretty good exhaustive simulation of the different hands, and you can see lots of different situations with it quickly and easily and for free. All right, so turns out this is the last hand of the tournament, well, actually, yeah, that's it. That's all she wrote. So in any event, I hope that this was interesting. As you can see, I made some mistakes. There were some bad decisions, but in spite of the bad decisions, by playing solid, aggressive poker, becoming aggressive when I needed to, learning about my opponents, taking notes on them, not going overboard and putting my tournament at risk unnecessarily. I mean, you can see down here I folded a ton of hands here, leading up to being heads up when I had the big stack. Well, I just didn't take a lot of risks, and I held on to my lead. And then when I did pick a few moments, look at this, all the green. I won every single showdown that I went into here. Okay, so that's what makes the difference, is playing the right set of hands. Even when you make some mistakes, and you're gonna make mistakes. I mean, your opponents are doing their best to help you make mistakes in this game, but you just have to make fewer mistakes than they do, and you have to avoid making the fatal mistakes in order to get down to the heads-up play at the very end, and do that more often and have a positive ROI, etc. So, in any event, it's been good being with you, and I look forward to doing it again sometime. And this is Rick Brady from RoyalFlushClubMembers.com signing off. Hi there, this is Rick Brady again. What I would like to do now is just take you through a very quick introduction to the Royal Flush Club member site. At Royal Flush Club is basically an online poker club and training school where we provide fellowship membership in we call the Poker Underground community with poker players worldwide who are leaders in advanced play, as well as those who are learning to play and improve their skills across the world in cash games, multi-table tournaments, sit-and-goes, and what have you, including Omaha. I'd urge you to take a minute and come over to the RoyalFlushClubMembers.com site and check it out, because I think you'll be amazed at what you find. Just give you a quick intro here. Come to our start page and you'll see we've got videos, advanced videos, by our World Series of Poker Pro Gank and others in the club, including myself and many others. So we've got pros and we've got coaches. We've got sit-and-goes. We cover sit-and-goes, multi-table tournaments, all the way from the beginner level up through intermediate and advanced levels. There's videos on all this. Cash games, Omaha, and back to cash games just briefly. They've got higher stakes cash games, mostly lower stakes, which is where, and even micro stakes,
and Omaha club tournaments. We play almost every day. There's some kind of social tournament, and then once a week we have an official leaderboard tournament. It's great to learn and make the final table there and earn points. Number of different other things, articles, lots of free articles, Poker Pro articles, as well as articles from our club members and coaches. We do offer a number of different tools that you'll find that we've reviewed that will be helpful. Poker coaching, we have virtual coaching where you send in a hand history and our coaches will look that over and create a video that's tailored just for you, give you private feedback on your game and the areas you need to work on and where you're doing well. As well as that we have live one-on-one coaching. So I think you'll be amazed at this is actually a free page. If you come over to www.royalflushclubmembers.com and click on the Start Here menu and have a look around. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at everything you see. In fact, there's an overview video that you can check out. Members join. You actually have a members area, and you can compare our various membership plans. It's fairly inexpensive to join and be a part, as you can see here, from $29.95 and $10 a month. And you'll find everything and more here that you would get at any poker training site on the internet, and a whole lot more value. So anyway, that's it, and hope you can come join us, and hope to see you sometime soon in the private forums and here at the Royal Flush Club members site. Thank you.